So Tim, I've known you a long time. Let's do this messages to my younger self thing. It's become this new little deal that we do on the show and put it up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to put people on the spot, but it's like, okay, from your wisdom and from this point in your life, perhaps it's not talking to yourself so much as it's talking to other young people and sharing knowledge. But one of the best things in the world you can do in this life is help other people, especially young people, through your wisdom and through some of the mistakes that we've made. Because God knows I've made my fair share. I mean, and I'm very open about all of that stuff, all of it. Tim, what would you be if you had you can make it a minute, you can do a couple of them, you can do one, whatever you prefer. What's Tim Damon's message to his younger self?
Man, I tell you what, Tom, and without question is and it's funny here because you and I chatted as we were on offline starting this, and we knew we were going to be very spontaneous on this. And so, but it is without question, I talk about this all the time, relationships. I grew up in Lansing, and at that time growing up, and much like you growing up here, Lansing was this tight community. And even though we didn't necessarily connect the way we are today, obviously with folks at our other school and kids and whatnot, but we grew up in our neighborhood, and you still talk to people, in fact, that grew up in Colonial Village, and you share that common bond, right? You're a Big Red, you're an Eastern Quaker, you're a Harry Hill Panther, you're an Everett Viking, and you're just always affiliated with that. But growing up in here and starting to work, I undervalued without question the power of relationships. And I started at the Lansing Regional Chamber. I was probably in my mid to late 30s. And it wasn't until then that I really understood what relationships and that networking and how you build those out and leverage that and what that could mean. And so, you know what, we talked a lot about that too with our kids. And I continue to stress that to people is, how do you build those relationships and, and grow that out, and just the power of it. And people will invest in you as an individual. And when I first started at the chamber, I had our chief operating officer at that time. Her name was Sue Parr, was leaving Lansing and actually going to Augusta, Georgia, as the new CEO of their chamber. And she talked to me about the relationships, and she talked to me about the fact that people were going to invest in you, be who you are. And I didn't, at the time, Tom, I didn't understand it. I'm 2 weeks into the chamber, but I tell you what, about a year later, it really hit me that what she meant. And I think from that point in time on, I have been about building those relationships and how you do that. And you know what? It's showing up, man. It's just showing up, I say, is 50% of it. If you show up, you're 50% there. If people like you, man, now you're 90% there. There's 10% you have to work at it, right? And I really, truly believe that. I believe that every single day that it's showing up and, having those relationships and treating people well. And you do those things, you've got a great opportunity to be successful. So without question, that's what I would tell the 20-year-old Tim Damon, who didn't really understand relationships at all at that point in time.
That was a excellent takeaway and a great message to your younger self. And that's the thing I love about doing the messages to our younger self, Tim. It's being able to step back and say, because as you said, I had mentioned it to you last week when we had a kind of a quick call, and then you really, because you're a busy guy, but you know what, when you just kind of peel it back just really quickly, it's like these relationships, the communication skills. That's what Craig Stobbs was talking about last week. Communication skills, relationships. How do we help other people? Because intrinsically, when you help other people, I learned this, Tim, from my time being the old guy student at MSU. All those people who took pity on me, even the students. I had many students help me. So many young people help, still do. And I appreciate that. But it's all about that. It's all about continuing to do that. Now, let's